Hey there. Have you guys heard about the debacle at the Chicago Sun-Times? They published a list of summer books that everyone should read in 2025, only to find out that of the 15 books on that list, only 5 of them are real. 10 of them have been made up by AI. Yes, the books are complete fabrications. And how did this happen? Girl, I will tell you what went down, how a major newspaper like the Chicago Sun-Times published a list of books that don't actually exist, and why this is such a big deal. And it's worse than what you think. Stick around and I'll break it down for you. Welcome back to the Literary Lori YouTube channel. I am Literary Lori, also known as Lori L. Tharps. I am a traditionally published author of both fiction and nonfiction, and usually on my channel, I am talking about my global literary life. I like to talk about book reviews. I like to talk about all the places I travel to see what the world is offering for colorful literary content. All right. However, sometimes I have to put on my literary activist hat, and that's what I'm doing today because this situation with the Chicago Sun-Times is deeply troubling, and we have to talk about it. So let's talk about it. All right. So what happened? This past Sunday, May 18th, 2025, the Chicago Sun-Times put out a special supplement like for things that are going to be great happening over the summer. And in that summer supplement was a book list. They had a list of 15 books that everybody should read for the summer, and it was supposed to be a mix of new books as well as classics. Turns out, though, of the 15 books, only 5 of them were actually real books by real authors. 10 of the books were books that were from real people, like real famous authors, but they weren't real. They were complete fabrications. For example, there was a book that supposedly Isabel Allende wrote. You know Isabel Allende, right? That called Tidewater Dreams. Isabel Allende has never written a book called Tidewater Dreams. So, fake title, fake description, as if she did write that book. There is a book by Percival Everett on the list called The Rainmakers. Percival Everett just won the Pulitzer. Okay, he's famous, so is Isabel Allende. But anyway, he never wrote that book. There's no book of his, and yet it's fully described, title, author, everything. So again, of 15 books, 10 of them were fake. Real authors, fake books, complete fabrications. And again, it's because AI wrote this list. Oh my goodness. How does a major newspaper like the Chicago Sun-Times outsource to AI in this egregious manner? And because this was a syndicated thing, it didn't just show up in the Chicago Sun-Times. This pullout was also in the Philadelphia Inquirer, and other papers all over the country published this supplement. Oh my goodness. So how does this happen? Well, we know, for example, Chicago Sun-Times not so long ago laid off something like 20% of their workforce. So we consider, okay, so they had to fire some of their reporters, and now they're going to outsource to AI to write their articles. This is what we all feared, but it's worse than that. I told you it's worse than that. That's not what happened. They did not outsource to AI. They outsourced to a human. It was his human's name. This human's name was, I'm looking on my computer. That's why I turned my head. His name was Marco Buscaglia. Marco Buscaglia is an actual human freelancer who was hired to write this supplement. But you know what Marco did? Marco was like, I'm too tired. I'm guessing. Marco, I don't know what you did. I don't know what you did. I do know because you said you did. You asked your friend ChatGPT to help you with this book list, and he claimed complete responsibility for it. According to, I'm reading an article from NPR. He said it was partly generated by artificial intelligence. Well, if part we mean 10 of the 15 books on that list, that's a big part, Marco. It's a big part. And you got caught, and now apparently Chicago Sun-Times has cut off his relationship. They said they will no longer be hiring him for work. Sorry, Marco. So, moral of that story, one, big news organizations, I don't care if you're using freelancers, you should probably have a fact-checking policy. Two, writers, what are you doing? you saw the subtitle on this piece was ChatGPT, artificial intelligence, is not your friend, is not your bestie, and it is not the person who should be editing your work or you should be depending on for doing your work. Sure, it can spit stuff out, but it's not accurate. Which brings me to my next point. Writers. Let's look at little Marco as an example. Using and depending on artificial intelligence to create your work is a losing battle right now. I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but right now, even though everybody's saying, oh, you're going to get ahead if you use artificial intelligence, you have to adopt this new technology. No, you shouldn't. And I'm going to give you 5 reasons why, specifically, AI, generative AI specifically, is bad for writers. It's not what you are thinking as this thing that's going to make your life so much easier. It's going to make your life worse as a writer, and I'm going to explain specifically why. But I want to finish out with this Chicago Sun-Times debacle. One more thing I want to mention is, in addition to the fact that Marco's losing his job, the worst part of this is that you had this supplement going out with 15 books for people to read for the summer. That means 15 authors could have had their books highlighted and promoted, and this would have been a great publicity opportunity for 15 writers. And instead, we got 5 writers. I don't even know who the people whose real stories are. Oh, the ones that are really the real ones that worked actually were old dead writers, unfortunately, like Ray Bradbury. He's on the list. So here was an opportunity, national publicity opportunity, and no writers, hardly any writers got a benefit from this. So missed opportunity for writers, for authors, and again, for freelance writers, also disaster. So let me break down. I'm speaking factually, not opinion-wise. Like, my opinion doesn't matter. I think you can already tell my opinion is that I really think AI, generative AI, is horrible for writers. But let me just break down facts why writers should not be using generative AI if they want to have a proper career, if they want to continue to be writers, if they want to actually get jobs. So, fun fact, I decided just to be, to prove a point, to actually put in a ChatGPT, is AI bad for writers? And I actually didn't do this because I refuse to use ChatGPT. I don't want it anywhere on my computer. I asked my research assistant to do it. And he asked ChatGPT if generative AI was bad for writers. And ChatGPT said, ChatGPT said that generative AI is bad and actually dangerous. Use the word dangerous. Not my research assistant. That wasn't the question. The machine spit that out. And just to be clear, we are talking about generative AI. Generative AI means specifically when you take information, it could be written information, it could be images, it could be voice information. You feed it into a machine, a computer, and then that computer processes that information and spits out new information based on whatever it was fed. Now, that new information isn't original. It's not intelligence. It is simply regurgitated whatever it is given. And now we know, we've seen from the Chicago Sun-Times, not only can it be regurgitated, but it's also hallucinating. Yes, and I've actually read that generative AI can hallucinate and make up things that don't exist, i.e. the Chicago Sun-Times book list where, hey, real people, fake books. And these books, it wasn't just the titles, the description of the books were there too. So again, apparently AI can't really think, but it can hallucinate. It can make stuff up. So that's what generative AI is, just so we're clear. So why is it dangerous for writers? Writers want to be like, oh, it's my best friend. It helps me edit. It gives me ideas. Listen to these reasons why even ChatGPT is saying, is dangerous and is not good for writers. Okay, quick reasons. Let's go through them. Generative AI spreads misinformation at the speed of light. Yes, it creates fake news articles, Chicago Sun-Times, fake images, fake videos, or even full conversations that look real, which makes it real easy to spread lies, conspiracy theories, and propaganda faster than humans can fact check them. So again, it's misinformation. I don't even got to explain that one because it just happened to the Chicago Sun-Times, the Philadelphia Inquirer, egg on their face. They are literally, every single major media outlet is covering how Chicago Sun-Times effed up. This is not good. So again, Misinformation spreading at the speed of light. Reason number 2, love this one. Generative AI puts creatives out of work. So, writers, we know that companies are eager to cut costs, and if they can cut out a human because they don't have to pay for health insurance, they don't have to pay a salary, they can just outsource to generative AI, then we are going to see many creatives out of work because they're going to, again, feed it the work that we've already done as writers and creatives and just expect it to spit out some new version of what we have already created. So, journalists, copywriters, illustrators will be replaced or at minimal undervalued by AI tools, which is why also you have to be real careful. I've been seeing writers who have used AI to edit their manuscripts. They have contracts with publishing companies, and then when they send their manuscripts in and the company say, hey, did you use AI to do any part of this, and they're no, I wrote this is all my own writing, and then these publishers have their own ways of checking to see if AI was used, and people are losing contracts because they're like, oh no, I just use it to edit. Well, as soon as you put your information into any form of generative AI, you've lost that battle, and publishers are getting rid of contracts. They're saying we can't publish this now because you've used generative AI, and we can't be, well, it kind of used it, sort of used it. My friends, don't do it. Also, again, as soon as you feed your information into AI, you are teaching it to sound like you, and you will put yourself out of business. Don't do it. Keep your work out of the generative AI machinery. And by the way, in case you didn't know, Meta already took almost everybody's books. They took millions of books and research papers without asking, without compensation, and fed it into their AI machine. There's a class action lawsuit against them right now for the great meta theft, FYI. But if they're being sued, you got to think, why is that? Don't feed your AI, don't feed your intellectual property into a generative AI machine, because you'll see your stuff somewhere else with your name not attached, or your name attached to something that is not something you created. So that was reason number 2. Next, generative AI, this sounds like what I just said, but it makes plagiarism and identity theft a fast growing industry. I don't really think I need to explain that. Don't do it. So here's number 4. Generative AI leads to intellectual laziness. Now, again, I could have told you this, but I didn't want you to think this was just me. ChatGPT said the same thing. If people using generative AI, it leads to a lack of original thinking. Plain and simple. If it's writing your papers, editing your work, coming up with the art, where is the original thinking? And what do you think happens when you have a generation of young people who are intellectually lazy? I don't want to live in that world. And also, I mean, if you want to look at the flip side, if everybody else is intellectual lazy, but you, my friend, have decided not to rely on AI, then you will be the smartest person in every single room. And if you are the one creating the original thought, again, I think you're going to be in a better position than the people who are like sheep going off to slaughter, right? Who just follow and say, oh, I guess I should do it this way. Don't do that. Don't be that person. Do you want to be intellectually lazy? Do you want content that's just regurgitated content, or do you want new information? For me, it's like when we talk about artisan foods, like, do you just want mass-produced McDonald's for your whole life? Because that's what generative AI is creating. It's just mass-produced regurgitating of the same old thing over and over again. Or do you want an elevated eating experience with artisan, homemade, human-made products? I think that's where we're going with AI-generated writing. Make sure your writing is the artisan writing. You want the original creative work. And thinking you're getting ahead by using AI, you're not. You're making yourself intellectually lazy. You will see. Just a quick example. We have cell phones now, and I bet you anything, you can't remember phone numbers like you used to, depending how old you are. Maybe you grew up with cell phones already. I'm old. But I used to be able to hold multiple phone numbers in my head at the same time. Now, I don't even know people's phone numbers. I don't know my own mother's phone number because I just push a button. So again, you can tell what intellectual laziness feels like in real time. Using AI to do your writing, to do your editing. I mean, come on, people. Don't do it. Don't do it. I'm talking to you writers. And last but not least, documents written by generative AI obviously lack a source of accountability. And again, so the Chicago Sun-Times, technically, I mean, they fired poor Mario. Is it Mario or Marco? I forgot his name already. Anyway, they fired the writer But who is he firing? He's just fired. He can't even blame anybody but himself. He can't say, well, this is what happened. I mean, he can say it, but it's like, dude, you depended on a machine, and you think the machine is infallible, but it's not. So if lies or misinformation is put out there, who gets blamed? And again, so many people, so many writers, so many publicists are like railing because they would have liked their authors to be on that list. And there's nobody to blame except the Chicago Sun-Times. And Chicago Sun-Times, they just have egg on their face. The Philadelphia Inquirer, they just have egg on their face. They can't blame anybody. There's no accountability for this debacle. All right. So again, if you are trying to use generative AI to write your book, to write your articles, and you mess up, what can you say? Who checked it? And you're like, oh, generative AI checked it. No. Okay. So those are the reasons why generative AI is bad for writers. But I got an extra. I have one extra one that's bad, not just for writers, but for all of humanity. And that is that generative AI is really bad for the environment. I'm talking like catastrophic. And I'm serious. Not my opinion. I am not a scientist. I'm a writer. I don't pretend to understand a lot of technology, but I understand basic things. And let me explain generative AI on a basic level and why it's dangerous for the environment. So, really simply, and I'm explaining this like you're a first grader. Pardon me if you're way more advanced than me, but here we go. Generative AI, like I said, it is machine learning. So you have to give this machine a buttload of information to process and then regurgitate new information. Okay. So in order for it to process all that knowledge you're giving it, all that content you're giving it, it needs a lot of energy. So you got to find a lot of electricity or nuclear energy from somewhere. So somewhere you got to take a lot of energy. And remember, there are countries there where energy isn't, like electricity isn't even a guarantee. And so we need massive data centers to where they can suck up a lot of energy to process these computers. They're basically computers, giant computers, not like the little ones that sit on your desk. Then, because they're processing so much and so quickly to give this information, they need to be cooled down, because in order to process, they heat up really hot. Guess what cools them down? Water. Where is this water coming from? Because it's massive amounts of water that is needed to cool down. And apparently these data centers are being built in water scarce areas. Surprise, like it's terrible where they're being built. So water scarce areas, lots of energy, and then guess what happens when you burn energy? You make pollution. Yes, carbon emissions are skyrocketing from these data centers. So takes up all the water in already water scarce areas, pollutes the air worse than, the numbers are staggering. It's something like a year's worth of car traffic for like one processing of some sorts of data. Again, I'm not a scientist. Do not like quote me on that. But what I'm doing is I'm going to leave links to articles from MIT where they are researching the environmental effect of generative AI. On the environment. And I will say this, that the researchers at MIT in this article basically said that the industry is on an unsustainable path environmentally. Like, this isn't going to work. And why it's not going to work is, let's just say that the data centers are already there. Maybe we could figure out how to make it work. But we are at the beginning of this AI revolution, and it's already sucking up so many resources, water, energy, and then throwing all this carbon monoxide into the air. And the more powerful the AI product is, which people want it to be better, because we see it's messed up, right? It's not working right. It's got to be better. And every iteration that makes it better requires more energy, more water to cool it down, gives off more pollution. And that's why they're saying, like, the way people want this to keep on building and building and building, it's not sustainable. The earth cannot sustain what we want it to do. Something's got to give. Now, why is this happening? This is the part that I want to leave you with. Who is benefiting from AI at this level. It's not you and me as writers, not at all. We're getting intellectually lazy. Potentially, we could lose our jobs or we could lose our writing contracts. It doesn't make writing or artistry. There's no real benefit, and yet people keep acting like it is so much better. It's so much better. What is so much better about generative AI than human creativity, human design, human art? What is better? Ask yourself. It's not better. It removes the human element from it, but it's not better. So why is it being pushed? Why do people keep saying, don't get left behind? You need this. Who's actually saying that? And what is the truth there? The truth is that the generative AI industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry. And I actually have numbers here. Something like, Economist estimates that companies spent $13.8 billion on generative AI tools in 2024, and that number is going to more than double by 2025. Okay? So there's so much money to be made in generative AI tools. So it's not that it's so much better, it's so good, it's so important. It's that people, greedy corporations, want to make money on this. And maybe not corporations, maybe some tech bro wants to make a tool that uses AI and make his money off of it. When we have this push, and it doesn't feel right to you, trust your instincts. Don't trust that everybody has to do this. If people succumb to greedy corporations who are literally just wanting to make money, they don't care about the writers, they don't care about the authors, they don't care about the artists. They want to make money. Money beats all, right? They don't even care about the environment, which it's like, what are you gonna do with your money when the earth melts, right? Like, seriously, what are you gonna do with your money then? Point being, stop and think, who really benefits from this, everybody using AI? What's better about it? I'm rambling. I'm gonna stop that. Here's what I want to leave you with, though. So what do you do about it? So hopefully I've convinced you that AI is terrible and that you shouldn't be using it. But what do you do instead? Okay, here are my thoughts. One, follow the money. See who's really to convince yourself. See who's really benefiting from AI. It's not you. It's not me. It's not writers. It's not authors. It's not the publishing industry. We're getting screwed left and right. On so many different levels. I already explained that. Look at who's actually benefiting. It's a money-making scheme, and if you think, don't get intellectually lazy. If you think and you're willing to process why everybody's telling you you have to use it or be left behind, you'll see where that's going. Two, resist when you can. Resist and reject AI. Almost every tech company is trying to throw AI into everything you do. But there are ways to opt out. Opt out if you can. Save your brain power. But also tell these companies that you don't want to use their products if they keep shoving the AI down your throat. And they're only doing that because they're making money. They are making money from it, right? They're making deals, backdoor deals. We'll buy your product. You'll do this. Don't buy into it. There are alternatives. And if we utilize our alternatives and show these different companies, we're not going to support you if you keep forcing us to engage with AI. Because the other thing is, remember, when you're engaging with AI, it's just using whatever you're doing, your searches, your writing, your blog posts even, to train their AI. So you really have to dig, but opt out, reject, and resist the use of AI. So reject and opt out when you can. Follow the money. And then last but not least, it's really important, especially as writers, we need to really put some effort into engaging with the younger generations and having them remember what it means to write, to read in real time, in real life. So really work on literacy efforts and the love and joy of reading and writing. So if you have an opportunity to volunteer with young people, to work at local libraries, to help local libraries stay open and available, do things like that too, because the younger generations are the ones that we are going to have to save and make sure they don't succumb to this idea that there's no such thing as reading and writing, that it's just something that a machine does for you. All right, that was a long video. If you listen to this whole way through, God bless you. But also, we have to resist and we have to be aware of really why generative AI is being pushed down our throats and what it's really offering us, which is nothing. It really isn't. Just keep remembering that, and remember, books saved my life. And I hope books save your life. I will see you in the next video, and I will not be on my soapbox. But if you do have thoughts about generative AI, why it's problematic, what you're doing to resist, leave it in the comments below so we can have a conversation. Because I've been seeing on a lot of social posts that people are getting mad. Finally, people are speaking out, and we have to do that, and we have to fight against the tyranny that is generative AI. Okay, that's it. I swear, I'm done. All right, I'll see you in the next video. Keep writing, keep reading.